Hi guys, welcome to this episode of SeggznBacon. I am your host, Kali Rose, and today I have a guest here with us. His name is George Goulburn, and he is the ultimate boyfriend experience. Living in Aussie down under, he left the corporate world behind to pursue a path of intimacy, sex, and connection. Tell us more about what led you to this path and what you were doing before and all of that, because usually, um, especially for a man, like so unheard
Yeah,
of. You are living a man's dream, literally.
I do hear that a lot. And I think, yes, I am. And why dream it and not do it is my approach.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm here in Australia where in many parts of the country, this type of companionship and sex work is completely legal.
Mhm.
So, that in itself is probably a sort of an unusual thought for people in the States. And there are a number of men who have moved into this sector in the last decade or so. My journey was a really interesting one in that it's been a few years now, and I had been working in government and corporate careers
Oh,
and
wow.
doing the usual thing of stepping up the ladder, so to speak. But I just felt that that wasn't. I was done with it. I
It's a
didn't
different
really
energy, a little more
completely.
restricted.
Oh, you bet, you bet. And there was a time in when I turned 40, that's nearly 15 years ago, where I was single again and I was dating so much. And I heard about these a few male escorts. And so I thought about it for that long. At the time, my life was a bit too busy. But then fast forward to a few years ago when a career change just appeared in front of me. And I thought, I'm going to do this now because I'd had so many women that I dated said, look, you really should get paid for this because you're a really great guy. You're really easy to talk to. And, the connection and the sex is pretty
Natural.
wonderful. Exactly. So it wasn't that much of a step. Whereas, look, not many men would do the same thing. It's quite a career pivot, that's for sure.
Yeah, like it's amazing how open Australia is compared to America. I'm curious if it would be any different of a clientele for you in America because of the way our laws work. I am the opposite spectrum with the girlfriend experience, but like again, with 15 years in and out of this, I still have yet to come across someone so empowered and embodied and serving also women.
Mm.
Because that is like the biggest like thing is women call upon you and it's for pretty deep intimacy. I went over your website. You have a slew of tiers and levels of connection that you offer. Do you
Mm.
want to share anything on that or?
Yeah, look, I refer to it mostly as companionship because primarily that's what it is. Women don't just pay me for sex. That's usually part of it, but there's far more to it. So my clients vary widely from in their 20s to their 80s, and there's many reasons why they might come to me, and that's what I try to understand
You said
early on
30 to 80s?
in their 20s
Oh,
to
20s. Oh
80s.
my gosh. I got
Yes.
the money whenever I was 20.
So it can be surprising the backgrounds of these women, what their backstory is. Some have been widowed, some have suffered domestic violence,
Mhm.
and I guess the common thing is that they want connection and they want someone who is safe, who they can really trust, and that can hold a conversation and just be someone that is an alternate to online dating. Because I'm sure it's the same in the States, where it's pretty terrible over here for women, and
The
it's
apps, yes.
oh my goodness, it's time consuming, it's soul destroying,
Time
and
consuming. You can set a timer and literally like 15 minutes to 2 hours. Sorry, I'm not going to take the mic,
yes.
but I
So
agree.
look, on in a way, even though my services aren't cheap, if you think about all the time women
Oh, you're
spend,
more than me.
You get it straight away. You get the great experience, and but it's a process of filtering as well because I I work for myself,
Yeah,
so I do every single contact is me. There's
I
no one
feel that's the
else.
best, honestly. Like,
It is. It takes up a lot of my time, but that
I
time
also
is well
have all
spent.
the power, right? Like, and
Yeah, and I can refuse clients if I don't feel that I'm going to be the best person for them.
mhm.
And that really makes it an authentic experience for both of us. And that's what I think makes me stand out because it is so much caring and attention and affection. And it's not so there's a lot that goes into the experience before, during, and after.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a sacred intimacy, and I mean, it's ingenious, honestly, how Australia does have everything legalized in a manner that women are able to be a consumer in an industry where most of the world, it's mainly men or couples that
Yeah.
are coming together. It's hardly ever a woman being able to seek that intimate connection that men do, like, call upon women for, and that's known. But to have the masculine stand here or sit here and validate what we experience as women, like, straightforwardly, like there's no mixed message. You're on the
Mm.
receiving end of what men like yourself usually pay for, or like the giving, sorry. And I believe that's so beautiful. Like, do
And,
you ever go outside of the country? Sorry.
look, I have done. Yes, I've been flown to overseas destinations, and look, that's amazing. What a like talk about living the dream. A
Right?
wonderful client paid me to spend a week with her in Scotland. I'd never been. She'd never been.
That's like green country and mountains, right?
Yes, and many of my clients will have, well, quite a few will have disabilities. And that particular client, her eyesight was not great, her mobility was not so good. So I was doing everything from the driving to being the tour guide, being the cook.
Really a boyfriend. Oh my God.
Yeah, and
My
it's so
boyfriend's
it's
in town. Oh, that's
because if you come to think of it, there's so many people who are just lonely and they don't have someone who can offer the full package like I can, and they might not want to travel by themselves. So that's something that I can do. I love doing that type of traveling experience where I'm the one taking care of my client.
That is truly beautiful. Like, because you do have that ability being embodied as masculine. Women have the ability to protect, but it's not as um direct and respected worldwide. And
No.
you're getting paid to protect, provide, and like nurture in a beautiful way. Um,
And I think that's the most profound part of it for me is that I can see a change in women in a short period of time
mhm,
because it's taken a lot for them to reach out to contact someone like me to recognize perhaps in themselves first that they do want something special and
yeah,
that this is available. And there's been a lot of media in Australia in the last few years empowering women to be able to seek out services like the ones I offer. So it's becoming increasingly known that these type of services do exist.
yeah.
And in popular culture, there's been a couple of different movies. There was a superb one that came out a few years ago called Good Luck to You, Leo Grand, and it featured Emma Thompson as an older woman seeking out sex from a
I
younger
feel like I've
man.
heard of it. I have not seen it, but I do love a good male escort, like character in a variety of shows. I do like that they're incorporating it, but it sounds like Australia. You guys are the new Amsterdam.
Well, I've been to
Ghetto.
Amsterdam and I think of it differently to
Oh,
that because it's, I'm in my mid 50s. And so it's
you
not,
look
as I
amazing
say,
for mid-50s.
oh, thank you. So it's not just about the sex. I've got a couple of university degrees. I've got a
And what
son. I've
are
lived a life.
yeah,
Pardon me?
I noticed that you did mention that you're highly educated. What are those education or like degrees in?
Yeah, well, there's a social science one, which really goes part way to explaining my curiosity and my interest in the world around me.
Mhm.
And there's a master's degree in business administration, an MBA. I've been a company director. I've done courses on conscious sexuality and tantra and kink and consent.
Oh, I noticed the tantra and the conscious kink in on your site and the
Yeah,
level for that. And there's a level before tantra. That's oh, I'm so sorry. Mm, I'm so sorry. I
well,
noticed that there's a level before tantra too. I'm interrupting you so much. I am so sorry.
that's okay. There's a lot to talk about, and
There
it
is,
really is
and I
interesting.
don't know where to start. It's like all there.
That's fine. We can follow
Like
any
a
path you like.
blocked dam.
Yeah. So it's, yeah, look, I customize every single experience with my clients. So as I alluded to earlier, I require a phone call from them. Once I know they're serious, or in often cases they're nervous and they don't really know what they want.
Mhm,
So a phone call between us can really help me ask them questions to understand what type of connection do they want. For many of them, it's just something social without any intimacy for the first time or for a few times before they feel like they're ready to go further. Others have a very clear idea and they might want to jump straight into that kink and BDSM. And that's again where I've had a lot of experience. So I've got to be very careful about understanding boundaries and all of the elements that go with that type of play.
yeah, because
So
you're holding space for a very vulnerable state, and it's
completely. Yes,
really beautiful to witness.
and there's been some standout clients. There was a woman who I met in London who was in her mid 50s and a virgin. So that was quite a lot for me to take responsibility for. And it's something I'd never thought I would do as a man in my age, take someone's virginity.
Mhm.
But it was so important for her to have a good first experience.
Mhm.
So for me, I took that on very carefully and considerately, and it made it such a wonderful experience for her. And it was funny afterwards. We were laying back in the bed, and she said to me, "Now I know why people want to do this all the time." I was like,
You've
"Yep."
awakened her.
I know, it was beautiful. It was so delightful, and I get satisfaction out of seeing women like light up.
Yes,
And
and you gave her an amazing, like, assuming, like, first, like, entry to something that, I mean, I lost mine behind an LA Fitness in a patch of grass. Like, it took years for me to, like, actually have, like, any intimacy. And I actually started to experience that once I became an escort because the relationships weren't providing that. And it's
mm,
wild to be a source, but not being able to receive that other than people seeking it. And
mm.
I don't know if you have noticed that.
Well, yes, my clients are almost universally just seeking that affection. My minimum booking is 2 hours, where people that see a female escort, as you would know, can see them for as little as 10 minutes, half an
Yes,
hour.
yes, try to do 1 hour at least for the connection, but it does take longer for a woman to connect unless you're showing up with that willingness already. So,
Yes. Yeah, so that's where there's a big difference between the work that I do and the work that a woman does, and not to mention people who are non-binary or trans. And I like to stress that I have some privilege by the fact of being born a white man here in Australia. So I'm not as concerned for my safety as many women in the industry are. So it's while it all sounds wonderful and beautiful, and it is, I think it's important to realize there is still that distinction and difference between males and people of other genders in this industry.
absolutely. So, like, thank you for acknowledging your upper hand and having more of a sense of safety already showing up to these, even though um, there are plenty of like situations where things, women in this industry are not so nice to consumers or clients or people looking. And so I think it's incredible that you have an entire screening process. I've heard of some women doing that, but and I can tell from your energy that like you're at peace with like that process. Like
Mm.
how much anxiety comes up with first meetings and with the screening? Do you still experience that, or like where does that fall on your the
I,
spectrum of
I
experience?
I don't get anxious or nervous. And I think
I could see that.
a big part of it is my background because I've dated like crazy for 15 years. And I love that because I'm an extrovert. I love to learn. And so the way I approach dating is that I have high standards but low expectations. And it's as though I'm just meeting someone for a coffee or a drink, like a colleague, for example. And even with dating, I've always taken the time to understand who the person is and what it is that I might bring to them, and vice versa. So it's the same with clients in this professional capacity. They're usually nervous, but because I've done the background and the homework to understand who they are, and then I tap into the planning to make it really memorable for them. Whether that be
So they're
picking them.
personalized sessions.
Oh, every single one. So I'm already, my brain's already imagining the scenario of where we're going to meet. If it's a restaurant, say, I'll understand if they've got any dietary issues, and then I'll make the booking so they don't have to, and I'll book the hotel room and do all of those things so they can just relax because it's all looked after. And as a woman, they don't want to make another decision because every
I mean, I
day.
would pay for this service. Like you were doing everything a woman wants a man to do, showing up, and I mean, even if you have to pay for it, isn't that, you know,
Mm,
men do that with women to get what they're seeking, and
yeah,
we
yeah,
just sometimes seek a little bit more depth. How did you tap
completely.
into that part of yourself? You said that you were always like this, or like,
Look, I think so. Yes, it's look, I've been fortunate to have really beautiful, strong female role models in my life from from birth, with my mother, my grandmother, my sister, and then as I grew older and fell into relationships, they were always with strong, intelligent, independent women. So I'm never emasculated. You know, I thrive in that that beautiful connection between the masculine and feminine. I don't need. I'm not an alpha male. That's just not in my nature. And I get so much pleasure and gratitude from doing what I do because I know I've been able to get a woman from a place of wherever she's been, almost like to cross the river to a place of something different. So I don't mind if clients only see me one time
oh,
and then you move on. But I do have quite a few who are regulars and have been seeing me for over 2 years now.
oh, I bet. So you've been doing this for 2 years or
Two and
going?
a half years now, coming up to
Oh,
three.
that's awesome. No going
Yeah.
back.
No, no, no. It's look, I think it's genuinely the um, most beautiful job I've ever had because it's a passion, but it's also the impact that I'm having on these women is profound. And
It's a
it's
therapeutic role. It truly is.
it really is. And I've reached out to dozens of sex therapists around the country and overseas because I think what we both do is complementary. So a therapist might talk to someone about their relationship or sex, but they only do that talk therapy. So
No lived
what then?
experience.
Exactly. So that's where I've had great responses from sex and relationship therapists. They can't recommend me, but it just makes them aware that there are people like me out there that could be a sort of a, a, a sort of safe and competent person to take the client on the next part of that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. You're opening people's minds. I mean,
Hmm.
that's huge. You're saying everything thing so openly that like I I do resonate with, and I do tell people, and I have shared this message or started to, but it's like so hidden here, and it's so crazy to be saying that about United States for whatever reason. I feel like it's
Mm.
not what it we kind of went backwards with this movement of sexual liberation from the 70s or 60s, and now we're
Yeah.
hiding behind closed doors and having to either be ashamed of this or not think that it's such a beautiful path that it is for people, like
Mm.
especially in a modern dating world where it's trash out there, and to just align with what you want because it's so hard. The
Mm.
games, the power plays, the dynamics, the manipulation.
Yeah.
It's um truly innovative.
And look, let's not assume it's all wonderful and perfect here either,
No,
because
not at
I,
all, but it
I'm
is.
I'm very glad that I've been able to be public. My family know, my friends know, and I've got no
Oh my
shame. There's
gosh.
nothing to hide. Well, because what I'm doing is legal. I'm getting paid to do this amazing work. I'm traveling, and I'm making women feel fantastic. So if someone's got a problem about what I do, that's a them problem. It's not a me problem. And it talks to their
Absolutely.
issues around sex.
It shows exactly where they have work to do in growth. Do you coach men as well through your intimacy techniques so
I
that they
do.
enlighten the
Yes, it's
brethren?
something I want to move more into that because there's such a screaming need for it.
Yes, and I
But
feel like you are definitely needed. Like,
yeah, I'm working with other practitioners to try to work something up like this. But I do get contacted by men who want to become an escort as well. And I can provide coaching because when I first began, I saw a former escort and he gave me some great tips and advice of how to, what the essence of it is.
so you're
And
passing the wisdom,
well,
the
the
truth.
most important thing is what's my why? Why am I doing this? And if, as some potential escorts have said to me, well, they love sex and money, I'm like, sorry, mate, you're in
Gotta
the wrong industry. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. It's got to be compassion and caring.
Oh my gosh, you're reminding me. I lifeguarded in my early 20s, and I said that did it because I love swimming, and I was laughed at, and it was like months into it, and I'm just like complaining and like I'm never getting to the pool. I'm only outside of it. So like you're right, you have to be a container, a space holder. You don't necessarily get to enjoy the full depth of what you're offering sometimes. Or do you get that? Like, have you had the tantric like soul connections within these, or like,
Yes and no, not often because it's not usually what my clientele want. But there are some very simple things that you can do with a
mhm,
lover or even a friend. Like eye gazing is one of the simplest things to do, like where you're silent, you're looking into each other's eyes and not diverting like we do in normal conversation. And when it's a conscious thing to do, it's amazing what can come out of someone's eyes, the emotion, the vulnerability. And doing that with a client is really something else. They've probably never done it in their lives before. So while it's not tantra, it's something close because it's a really beautiful connection.
it is tantra though. It is yap yum in a way with the eye gaze,
Yes.
just not focusing on breath necessarily. I feel like synchronized breath work is so hard, especially
Mm,
in this realm if it's not a continuous partnership.
can that again, breath, being aware of your breathing and in tuning in with your partner can it's another layer of
Yeah, it can
tantra
be
and
intense.
connection. It really can. So they're simple. It doesn't require expensive equipment or sex toys or anything like that. It is just giving of our energy to each other.
Yes, our prana and
Mm.
our
Yeah,
presence.
completely. Yeah. And that's talking of presence. That's what I think is really special about what I provide. Because when I'm with a client, I'm 100% with them. My phone's off. and I'm just focused on showing them a great time. And so it's something that many of us don't. We're not present in much of our life because phones, social media, any distraction. So for the clients, they're really
Yeah,
feeling everything that is authentic from me.
well, it sounds healing for both, honestly. A way to, what is it? Disconnect. And I mean, I understand from giving the girlfriend experience what I get from it, and I can only assume that's what I'm resonating with what you're saying on like being able to like just leave everything and that being expected of you instead of like
Yes.
it being a distraction, something to like feed your energy from being present and connecting and just avoidance overall, which is way easier um, in this society than it is to just shut off our minds because a lot of masks end up falling off and we're not always
Mm.
prepared to face that something was a mask to begin with.
And another thing I really value in this work is that, it's often said that we have a public life and a private life. And but I also get an insight into sometimes the secret lives of my clients. And that can be because they might be in a relationship that they're not happy with. Or even if they're single, they won't tell anyone that they're doing this because they will be judged. But
Yeah,
for
and facing
me,
themselves fully is terrifying compared
yeah.
to leaving what
But for
doesn't.
me, well, I'm I'm a vault, so anything they tell me goes nowhere. And that therefore allows them to be more vulnerable and open. And just for that period of time, at least, they can be completely truthful and just share whatever it is that they want.
Absolutely, because a lot of people wouldn't even tell their therapist, but they tell you because a therapist judges and that opens up couple therapy and it's you have to risk another party. You're literally um the discretion that comes with being able to experience deeper connection in a side of yourself. I've never chosen a path of like monogamy. I've been single for 12 years, so I find it interesting to connect with people who are on that path. And my internal like guidance is always like, why don't you just like tear it all down, you know? Like everyone's gonna survive, right?
Yeah.
But
I've not been monogamous. I've been ethically non-monogamous. So anyone that I have dated, I've told that I'm not exclusive, and they then have a choice of whether or not that's something they're okay with, and no judgment for them either way. It's just what works for me,
yeah,
and
clear
obviously,
communication, green flags,
yeah, and
like
obviously
some green
given
flags.
well, and naturally given the work I do, I can't be monogamous. It just it's a job requirement.
That's a fantasy I like to tell myself as a woman is like, oh yeah, I can still be monogamous and this is just work. But I've started to accept that it is ethical monogamy, hence the whole sluts acronym and really
Yeah.
owning that publicly. Because up until 3 months ago, I was closeted. Some people knew, but by the time they knew, it was like it really hindered any connection.
Mm,
So I don't know if
yeah,
you feel that with your female friends, and I don't want to get into that discretion and privacy either,
sure.
because
But I still do date occasionally, and I do have some lovers in various parts of the country or overseas. And I'm
all over the
completely,
world.
yes, yeah. I'm completely honest with them from the get-go. There's no reason to lie. Like,
Yeah, I
uh,
think deception is what ruins a connection truly. Over my years of like trying to date, like deception has always been the biggest turnoff. It's never been like what you did, it's the fact that you couldn't tell me, and I'm like
yes.
only gonna judge because you chose a path of like, I mean, I don't know how to always verbalize it, but I know you get the gist. Hopefully, listeners are getting the gist too.
Yeah, I want to mention another type of service that I provide is, and it's very, very selective, is when a couple might come to me. Now, I'm 100% straight, but my background, having been to, kink and clubs and the like, I'm very comfortable with men being naked. But in the circumstances where I have seen couples, it's either because the man can't provide what his wife wants. He might have erectile
Of
dysfunction,
course,
but he still wants her to feel pleasure and he wants to be there. So that
compersion is the word I believe. Where,
compersion,
yes,
yes.
getting off
Yeah,
on your
getting,
partner.
yeah, seeing your partner get pleasure makes you
I feel like
happy.
I have that. I truly like feel that. It's just I haven't had a partner who feels safe feeling that from me or like being open and the deception goes from
Yes.
there. So
Yeah, so those I've had a number of those experiences, and also where I've been teaching the man how to give him the skills and the language to communicate to his wife or partner. And that is profound that I can make this a couple come together so much closer after might only be a few hours with me, despite the fact they've been together over 20 years. So it's extraordinarily beautiful to help provide that sort of experience.
I'm trying to figure out which religious figure because I am not like a one set religious, but you sound like the gatherer in the room, like the peacemaker. And it sounds so powerful. Like the
Look, it is,
true
and you can.
guru.
I'm sure you can feel my passion for this work because it means so much
Yes,
to me.
all the way on the other side of the world, truly.
Yes, and look, while it's illegal over there, it's only a plane flight to Australia. Or, I love to travel, like I said. So
True.
I've met clients in different parts of the world, and so yeah, I think it shouldn't be repressed because when you think about it, we are all born because of an orgasm. So and then we don't talk about sex. Then we get strange about it.
So true. Whether it was the female's orgasm or not, the man
Well,
definitely.
that's right. I wasn't referring to a females
Sorry,
necessarily.
I had to publicly like go through that and piece it together.
Yes. But you know what I find really curious that platforms like Meta um, are deleting profiles of people like myself. So you've got to be super careful.
I'm on my third account.
Yes.
Hmm.
And when I've been cancelled, the reason is for
No
promoting
love and
sex.
light and sex.
Oh,
No, none of that. No deep sex. No meaningful.
no. The reason they give is promoting sexual activity.
Yes, solicitation or anything, like even
But
discussing it.
if not for sexual activity, there would be no humans
Now
alive.
we both feel the same page. They're attacking you too. Okay.
Yes. Yes, they are. So look, discrimination is still
They wouldn't if you
rampant.
were just like posting app pictures though, and you were selling a different type of sexual energy, like for
Yes.
men at least. But for the healing side of things, they don't want it, and they don't want women being empowered like at all. And it's
It's so counterproductive because if you follow that train of thinking, it leads to uh, broken relationships, people not expressing themselves and not appreciating that lovemaking is beautiful and affection is so necessary. So it makes no sense and beyond controlling perhaps. And anyway, that's not what I'm about. And that's why I love speaking to people like yourself, Kelly, because it helps get the story out in ways that it really normalizing. There's nothing wrong and
everyone like
unusual.
takes like the word of a man more seriously and firmly. Unfortunately, I don't like the dynamic like reality we live in, but I can preach all day, but having a man living everything, choosing to go from corporate, not having like a tumultuous like beginning, like this is a true embodied healing path, like what it should be, what I came back to experience and am experiencing through this. So
Terrific. I don't feel any, like I've not had any trauma in my life. I'm not doing it to make up for childhood issues. Not in the slightest. I had a beautiful childhood and upbringing, and I have a loving family, and that's been the grounding and foundation for me. And so it's again, it's a privilege and I'm so grateful to be able to do this. That's why I'm so excited and really giving out the energy of connecting with women.
Absolutely. I am grateful for you, and I haven't even met you in the flesh. And I know a lot of women are raving about that. And I hope that um, this message does reach the people that it is meant to in the manner that it liberates them and makes them search for this, men and women. Because if there are men out there that hold this gift that you do, an embodiment, there is a market for them. It's just they're too afraid to create it because of what they may have to filter through. But is there anything else that you would like to share and where we can find you? I think we should probably wrap up. I could talk to you forever,
Yes.
but
Yeah, look, it's been a pleasure. I just want people to recognize this is something that they can and should and could reach out and ask for. And so far as where to find me, georgegoulburn.com. So it's fairly easy to find. And on Instagram at official George Goulburn. No, George Goulburn official, I should say. But perhaps if you
I'll
can
put
pop
it
it
properly in the link, even if
in the
it's
show
like
notes. Yeah.
absolutely. Well, thank
But
you again, George. I
it's
hope you
been
have a blessed one.
yes, thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure being here with you, Callie. And yeah, hope people, if anyone wants to reach out to me just with questions or want to know more, feel free. I'm always happy to answer.
Absolutely. I'll be sharing you and your everything by Tuesday, maybe Sunday, but I usually post on Tuesdays.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a blessed one again,
Okay,
and stay in touch, please. Let
definitely
me
will.
see how to end this. I think.